Everybody, thanks for joining the Big Thonk Podcast. My name is Jason Mortensen. I am here today with my good friend Cameron,
Yo.
and we just are going to be talking about things that have been on our minds. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it.
Alright, Apex is dead.
All right, so some context to Apex is dead. Uh, you've seen it, Cameron, right?
Dude, I've seen articles about it, I'm gonna be honest. And then I've seen, just fucking randomly browsing. It's just people actually think the game is dead.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen probably a dozen videos just with the big header like Apex Legend is dying or why Respawn is letting Apex Legends die.
Which I think Respawn did a great fucking job with that game. I don't think anybody can fucking deny that, but
yeah, and
it just hasn't gotten an update, is all.
well, and that's where I think is the problem. Right now I feel like the current industry kind of just tells you that you have to send out these updates, but why do we even want these updates?
New content?
Well, yeah, you want the new content, but I mean, think about it this way. Is new content like skins or is new content like a new experience?
Yeah, I think the whole entire adding of the Battle Pass was pretty... I don't know. I mean, they added a new character, the fucking druggie. One stabs yourself. Octane, there we go. And
yeah.
I mean, that kind of counts for something, but it's like only 1 in 3 people can actually play that new character at a time. So
Well, I mean, they also added new weapons, and they're adding new
they added
things.
new weapons.
Yeah, they added new weapons. The Havoc. It's like it's actually a pretty cool weapon, and I think it shows as an interesting point to what you can do with updates, right? You can take a game that you like and then just add a few more cool things on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, arguably they're like baby steps compared to like games like Fortnite and PUBG are doing with their updates. New maps. Shit.
Well, yeah, and that's where my problem with updates comes, is that these games that were once a specific game, when you thought about, like, let's say Fortnite, you knew a specific game in mind, right? But now, after constant updates, you look at the game and it looks nothing like it looked a year ago. With planes, those roller balls.
Balls.
Yeah, there's like these little roller hamster balls that you can get into, and then there's like the golf carts, and
Wow, PUBG sounds so different.
these things seem cool, right? They seem like, oh, that'd be cool to add on to it, but like, it's like toppings on a pizza, Like, after a while, you don't want to keep just putting toppings on your pizza.
I don't know.
Wow, friend, you're just gonna let your phone ring like that in the middle of the podcast?
Screw you, man. Look, it's hard to get to the silence button. My case protrudes out a bit, so it's really hard to get to it. Okay, blame me. Blame poor manufacturing. No, but I don't know. I mean, games like PUBG and Fortnite. I kind of feel like, as much as I want to say, the constant flow of updates is not necessary for I mean, in games in general I don't think it is, but for games like that it's kind of a different story, because usually with your Call of Duties, your I can't think of another example because my brain's going blank, or Call of Duty, your single player games, for example, and they usually have multiple game modes to them. Call of Duty Zombies multiplayer used to be a campaign, but now they're phasing that out. But with these kind of games where it's just one focus, you got Battle Royale, and that's it. Or with one of our favorite games, Paladins, you have a couple side game modes. But let's be honest, people are there for Siege if you want to play competitively.
Yeah.
So when you only have one game mode, one defined game mode, I mean, you got to switch it up somehow, because with games like Call of Duty, I can, if I get bored of playing the campaign or playing multiplayer, go to zombies, or make a custom game in multiplayer. I can't do that in Fortnite. I can't do that, and I gotta rely on the developers to provide me something new that I want to, actually jump back in for.
Well, yeah, but I think that feeds into the notion that, like, we're supposed to only be playing one game. A lot of us have jobs and obligations that we have to do, but the vocal minority that speaks for the consumer is the streamers and, like, the content creators who spend a majority of their time playing games.
Oh yeah, I guess, but they would have a lot more time with the games and probably would get bored quicker.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, sometimes I feel like I don't even have enough time to experience a single patch.
Because it moves so fast.
Because it moves so, I can't even, I'm not gonna buy any more battle passes or anything from Paladins. The only reason why I have been is because I had a lot of crystals, but now I'm not gonna do it anymore just because I don't have enough time to invest into that game, and I don't want to.
That last battle pass was pretty damn grindy.
Well, it's not even just grind, because, like, they were saying that they're gonna, like, decrease the amount to grind for, and then, like, also they said that, like, they're gonna make the challenges. Well, actually, they said that the challenges are grindier, but they're easier to produce, and, like, I don't know, it just seems like a whole entire ploy to just make you play only one game. And I love Paladins, but I want to play Paladins when I want to play Paladins. I don't want to play Paladins because I feel like I have to get my money's worth, and I have to unlock the skin from the battle pass.
It does kind of feel like an obligation at that point. It's like, I spent on it, I might as well get everything out of it.
Yeah.
But
and that's why the Apex Legends one was actually kind of controversial, because of how grindy it was. Because
I didn't get it, so I would.
Yeah, that was one of the main complaints of it, is that it was, like, really grindy to get anything. Well, and also a lot of people didn't like the skins, but I mean, it's just, I just don't understand why we need to have just these games as a service, but more so games as a platform. Because games are no longer, pieces of artwork. Because if you compare them with any other pieces of artwork in, like, anywhere,
movies,
books, songs, nothing, or paintings, artwork, anything, any other piece of art is not comparable to games right now. And that is because of updates. No other art form releases what they have and then says, okay, tell me what you like, what you don't like. I'm also gonna read back the, like, statistics from, like, how it's interacting with the audience and stuff like that, and I'm gonna super overanalyze everything to try to, like, perfect it into this, like, omega form that everyone's gonna like. I
don't know. J.K. Rowling's doing pretty good with her,
with
her edits to the Harry Potter series.
Like everyone hates that. Everyone's being like, why is J.K. Rowling, like, messing with, the
Dumbledore gayness.
Yeah, but that's she's just updating it. Like,
it's a patch right now, and she's nerfing Dumbledore. Just kidding. That was a joke.
It's crazy that we don't want to preserve works of art, because that's what these developers are. They're artists. They're artists working in a group of developers, and they create this cohesive work of art. And, like, honestly, that's why I like a lot of indie games, because I feel like so much personality goes into them. So much of somebody goes into them. But a lot of these games right now, I just feel like they're too corporate-y, all these games with these trying to capture literally anyone. Like it's not trying to
anyone in their wallet, that is.
Yeah, it's trying to just get the attention of anyone, not trying to just make a game for the unique experience itself. And that's where I feel like we shouldn't be happy with that model, you know?
I mean, it definitely depends for me. I mean, I like single player games, like, don't get me wrong, you know, enclosed experiences, stuff that doesn't get updated. Arkham series, you know, Shadow of Mordor, well, not Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, because Shadow of War was a complete cash grab. Can't change my mind on that.
Didn't they,
you had loot boxes in a single player game. It had multiplayer aspects to it, like you could go up against other people's forts, but you never really saw anything, you know. It wasn't real multiplayer.
Oh, so you couldn't even attack people?
You couldn't interact with people. You just like, oh, my base I can beat your base or some shit like that because you have your orcs that guard your base and all that bullshit.
Was there even any like benefit to it? Like,
well, your loot boxes would give you orcs of different levels, so people would just grind out. I'm like, how the fuck do you put loot boxes on a single player game? Well, that's a whole side tangent. But the thing is, like, those games, I don't want updating, you know?
Yeah.
My single player games, my Assassin's Creeds, my Arkham series, because, you know, they're in closed story. They have a defined start, defined finish, and it actually has a story. And versus games now like Fortnite, PUBG, Apex, all those, or they have no story to them per se. They, you know, some of them have lore to the characters. Paladins has lore to the characters, somewhat of a story, but the real experience is gameplay. And in those kind of circumstances, the updates are nice sometimes, as frequently as they get them. For someone that can't get to my PC all the time, it can be jarring because you come back and some characters play completely differently. But it's also nice. I mean, something new. Maybe it's balanced more. Maybe it's more of what the community wants.
But sometimes they just take things away, though. Like, high-res games are notorious for starting off with ingenious ideas. Super creative. I am telling you, if historically, high-res creates wonderful, super creative games. But then they release them, and they overanalyze stuff. They, you know, overestimate, you know, community feedback. They think that, like, just they have to get their game to a perfect state, right? Continuous updates. And that's how Hi-Res has always worked. Like, you know, Paladins gets an update pretty much every month. And it's cool that, like, a game that I like is getting constant things, but I feel like I would much rather have a game that just grows a community around something that is stagnant, you know?
But people are going to get bored.
I mean,
that's
not in a competitive game. Like, in a competitive game, if it's released as a full dead set game, you can have a really, really good emerging community out of that.
But and what about balance changes? That's
you don't need it.
That's kind of necessary in
Melee.
Okay, Melee had its own set of problems.
Like what?
That one thing we were talking about it a couple of days ago. Fuck, it's been a while.
I mean, are you talking about, like, it's tech, or, like, it's like the fact that, I mean, it's so Melee is not balanced. It has a lot of exploits.
There we go. It was an exploit you were talking about a couple days ago. I forgot.
Well, yeah, Melee has tons of exploits. But some of them that, like, just break the game are banned by the community. So, like, if you're just gonna play, you're just not gonna do those tactics. 'Cause, I mean, it just makes the game unfun.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are used in game, but it's more so of a technique than it is an exploit. You know, like, people have come to realize that this is just the way the game is.
So it's like bee hopping in CS:GO.
Yeah, so it's part of the game. Even though it might have been intentional or not, it's part of the game, and it's like trying to pretend that something doesn't exist when you know it does. When you have a threat, you can just say that it doesn't exist.
Nuclear
or
war.
You can ban it.
Nuclear
right?
War.
Or you can just let people. You can learn how to play with it and play against it. It's not cheap because it's in the game. You have to. The rules of the game are either set by what's usable and what's banned. I'm trying to think of the way to explain this. So you basically have to treat the game as a whole. All right, your community can ban certain things, certain tactics that are too strong, right?
Meta Knight.
Meta Knight. In Pokemon, there's Pokemon that you ban. But all in all, you just have to accept the mechanics as they are, even if they are bugs.
Yeah, but the thing is what if I like the character of Meta Knight, bro? But he's just a little too OP. I'd rather them go in there with a Nerf hammer real quick, smack him down a few pegs or two, maybe be able to play a character I like, rather than I have to disregard the character I like because the community says, oh, he's OP.
Well, then why not you just play Smash 4 then?
Because I like Melee. I don't actually. I haven't played that many, what is it called? Smashes.
And also, plenty of people would do Meta Knight dittos.
What are Meta Knight dittos?
Where they would just play, players would play Meta Knight, and then it would be seen as fair.
Look, I get confused with just two players on the board normally. You put two players that look exactly the same there, and I'm not going to know where I'm at.
Also, there are some characters that have an even matchup against Meta Knight, and there was a lot of tournaments that didn't even ban him. Plus, you could still play online with whoever you wanted.
You can play Melee online?
Not Melee. Meta Knight's from
Brawl. No, Brawl. There we go. Fuck.
Jesus, dude. Know your smashes.
Look.
Know your
I've never been a big Nintendo fan. I legit only do, I started out not with... Okay, technically I started out with Nintendo with the Game Boy Advance, but I never really got too deep into, Mario or anything like that. I always thought it was kind of cheesy. I went straight from Pokemon, straight from animal abuse, right into killing Nazis in World at War and killing aliens in Halo.
You see, I want to talk about Pokemon.
Why Pokemon?
Because I think that Pokemon makes a great game design, but ruins it entirely. And it's like a preemptive patch for Pokemon.
It's a preemptive patch?
Okay, so my problem with Pokemon is that
when your developer preemptively patches, you're just disappointed in them.
So there's a lot of mechanics in Pokemon that are revolve around randomness.
But it failed.
And that's what I don't really like about it, because I would much rather have a a guaranteed way to outplay my opponent, not based off of luck.
But luck does exist in life, Jason.
Yeah, but not in every single turn. Every single turn in Pokemon, you have the chance to crit, you have the chance to miss, you have the chance to you have a chance to burn, you have the chance to freeze, you have a chance to paralyze, you have a chance to...
You have a chance to up the chances of those stats. D&D is the same way. You have a chance to get the...
Well, yeah, but that's not...
But you upgrade your stats to make your luck better.
But that's not PvP. That's PvE, which is understandable.
That PvE is arguably harder sometimes when you're done.
Okay, yeah.
But for the sake of fairness, yeah. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I would love to, and especially for a game that is centralized around like fighting other people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole game is about playing against another person. And yet the whole entire 1 versus 1 game mode is completely like not fair. Like it's not designed well as a like as a game, you know? And like sure, you can say that, you know, well, since everyone has the same access to all the Pokemon, since you know they all have the same like luck chance, it is fair. Because like you know you get hacks, I get hacks. Hacks is what they call you know like you being lucky. Um, but yeah, it's just like I I really wish they would have taken the design and made it more so where it could create a fair environment for the better person to win.
Or the level 100 Charizard to win.
Charizard takes 4 times damage from Rock. So that means he loses half his health when he comes into Stealth Rock. He's a garbage Pokemon.
Oh my god. Who was your starter? Gen 1.
Gen 1 Squirtle. Because, like, I liked...
Pounded.
I liked Blastoise. I thought he was dope.
I just thought Squirtle was cute.
And then Gen 2 Cyndaquil. Gen 3
Wait,
Sceptile.
What were it was Cyndaquil.
Chikorita and
I think I went Chikorita because I liked Blaziken.
No.
Wait, Chikorita goes to Blaziken, right?
No.
Hold up. Which one goes to Blaziken? It's a chicken one.
Cyndaquil is the fire one.
Oh, Chikorita's the fucking
Chikorita is the fucking the long neck thing. Long neck bitch with the green the green
the green fucking
yeah
I forgot she existed.
She evolves into Bayleaf, you know.
Yeah, she was even more irrelevant than Bulbasaur. And what's the chicken called? That's the fire chick. I know it was
Torchic.
Torchic. There we go. Fucking A.
Yeah.
Torchic. I don't know. I heard Chikorita. I thought chicken.
And then, so Gen 3 I picked Sceptile. Gen 4...
Wait, when's Torchic? I know it was a starter. Gen 3?
Gen 3.
Gen 3, yeah.
Gen 4 I picked...
I honestly...
Actually, I don't... I never played Gen 4.
Is Gen 4 the one with Piplup and...
Yeah, it's the one with, like, space-time stuff.
Dude, honestly... The Pokemon series, I think I dropped out at, like, Gen 2, and I was really young when I did. Because it was just, like... It was too fucking many after that. Like, once I was old enough to appreciate gaming as a whole again, I looked back and I was like, I don't recognize any of these. There's one that's a fucking ice cream.
I think the worlds that they build through the stories are really interesting if you can use your imagination to place yourself in their shoes. Because you gotta remember, in Diamond and Pearl, you were basically staring in like face to face with the being that created like everything with like Arceus. Arceus is the god Pokemon.
And
then there's the space Pokemon and the
Daimi. What's his name? Oh man, and there's Palka and I forgot what the other one is. And it sucks because he's the one that I like them better. What starts with a D? Whatever. Who cares? Who cares about anything after Gen 2?
Bro, so
there is a chandelier Pokemon.
There was a Pokeball Pokemon in Gen 1.
Are you talking about
Voltorb?
Voltorb, there we go.
Yeah,
and then he just flips upside down when he evolves. That's some good design right there.
Like, Pokemon isn't about, like, super original designs. It's about just, like, you know, it's about just imagining yourself in a world that, like...
You can abuse animals in.
Well, so the thing about it is that it's a weird world. It's a world that you don't understand, and that's why it's acceptable to have these, you know, weird Pokemon, right? garbage? Why is the garbage a Pokemon? Why is the chandelier a Pokemon? Why is the Voltorb a Pokemon? Why like it? We're confused and like, oh, they're running out of ideas, right?
Well,
but in reality, it's just Pokemon's a weird world, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what they wanna enforce. Like if you actually put yourself in the like think about it this way. They're selling to kids. That's it. They're selling to kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're selling to kids, you're selling to kids' imagination. And so when you want a kid to imagine a really weird world where pretty much anything can happen, you want to give him evidence, him or her, evidence that anything can happen. Like, hey, here's a garbage Pokemon. That's why I love Garbodor. Because he reinforces to the player that this is not a world that makes sense.
My favorite Pokemon.
And therefore, your imagination should not be capped. There should not be a point where you think that you've seen it all.
Yeah, just when you think, oh, these things might make sense, fucking toxic meteor spawns in Auschwitz. You remember reading about that one?
Yeah.
Oh god, Pokemon Go was such a fucking. You know, there's still a lot of people that actually play that.
Yeah, I saw at work today there was a guy who went through the drive-thru and like, I mean when I gave him his drink he had Pokemon Go on his lap.
It's honestly
I can't agree with people who play Pokemon Go but not for like that play on their phone while in the car going around places.
in the drive-thru of a Starbucks.
Well, like even just going like okay, so if you want to use Pokemon Go as like a way to
be active, maybe
be active and walk around and stuff because that's what it's meant for, then yeah, go ahead and do that. But if you are out there just playing this mobile game trying to collect like just play regular Pokemon, bro. Like it's Pokemon Go is not that much more fun. Like it's not more fun than regular.
It's strictly PvP though. You can fucking be the biggest champ in the neighborhood.
Well, it's not even like real Pokemon though. It's just like you just like tap. That's all you do. You just wait until your Pokemon's stronger than the other Pokemon and you just tap.
And your point is, in Pokemon all I did was spam self-destruct.
Anyways,
by the way, what is a shiny Pokemon in like these new games? I remember seeing
they still exist.
Huh?
All Pokemon have shiny versions of themselves.
Yeah, but I know that, but I meant like what are they? I know they weren't in my older ones when I played. They're like are they just like more powerful?
I think they've always been there since Gen 2.
Really?
Yeah. It's just that they're extremely rare.
Oh.
They're that rare.
Oh, what is a shiny? Is it just like it reference the cards?
No, I mean like probably. But I mean like the cards came after Pokemon did, so I don't know. I mean shinies are just like a way to add on to the collection, you know? Like you can collect all the Pokemon, but can you collect all the shiny Pokemon?
Are they more powerful?
No, like they're just cosmetically different.
I remember seeing a post that was like, just saw a shiny Graveler, and it was like apparently they're really low spawn rate, and it's like as soon as he ran into them, they used self-destruct. I was just like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's always funny, especially because like that's why if you're like going around trying to hunt for shinies, you always want to bring something that can sleep something. Because not only does sleeping an enemy make them not move, but it also makes it to where they are easier to catch. So
bring a Snorlax, use Yawn. Done.
Well, no, you want turn 1 sleepage.
How do you turn 1 sleepage?
Sleep powder. Sleep powder is one of them.
Oh
Spore
yeah, that's a grass type move, right?
Or I don't know if Spore is actually paralyzing. I think Spore is... Yeah, no, Spore definitely puts you to sleep. It's been a while since I played Pokemon. I used to play competitively. I used to be really freaking good at it.
I played as a kid and I hated Oddish. You know, the little radish looking... Because, okay, in Pokemon Red, as soon as you get out the cave, there's... I forget what town it is. It's the first cave you go through. And... like this third town that you get to. There's like this little bridge that you walk across, and there's like a bunch of people across that you gotta go. Then there's a little patch of grass, like right off to the left. I just remember I'd always run into Oddishes there, like constantly. Like you take 2 steps, there's an Oddish. Take another 2 steps, Oddish. I was like, this is worse than fucking
Zubats.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just like, I fucking hate Oddish, and I always ran Bulbasaur. I mean, not Bulbasaur, sorry, Squirtle. So I'm like, alright, just fucking one-shot the Oddish. They're a weak-ass Pokemon. But this fucking dude just got powered off my water jet and just grew into fucking...
Why didn't you just get like another Pokemon?
I was a committed man. See, I wasn't into that Pokemon polygamy stuff. I was one and true to the end. I just buy a bunch of fucking... I'd have a second Pokemon. Always.
Just so we could,
so I could revive my Squirtle.
I remember I used to really be a fan of Cubone. Like just the design, I thought Cubone was really cool.
I wonder what he looks like without his mask.
I mean, he's designed a lot like Charmander is. But
I think he'd have a long nose, maybe like look like a fucked up kangaroo.
Probably. I mean, yeah. So I like Cubone, and so I would spend all this time trying to get Cubone like super strong, but not evolve him. So it was super annoying because I didn't want to put the Everstone on him and keep him not evolve that way. Because if you put an Everstone on a Pokemon, then they don't evolve, right? But you can also prevent them from evolving by pressing B during the evolving scene. So I found that Cubone sucked, like he did. And so it was really hard to grind him. And so instead of putting the Everstone on him, I put the Thick Club on him, which only works for Cubone and Marowak, which basically doubles their attack. It's the only way that I was able to like actually do damage to things. I know this is a long explanation, but basically, every single time my Cubone leveled up, it would try to evolve because like after a certain level, like past that level, every time you level up, you will.
And then you spam B aggressively.
Yeah. And I just found that was so annoying. But then I eventually got that Cubone up to the point where I beat the Elite Four with it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I didn't know that the stopping evolution thing was a feature.
Really?
Yeah, when I was a kid, and I picked up the game probably my freshman year of high school because I remember for a while I didn't have my phone with me. And I was like, I never fucking did my work in class. I mean, that's overrated. So I'd bring my Nintendo Advance.
Stay in school, kids.
No, but let's see. You made me forget. Yeah, okay, so I whipped out my Game Boy Advance, fucking history class. Which, who cares about history, right? It's history. Who gives a shit? They're dead.
It already happened.
They're fertilizer. What was I going on about? God.
You were talking about your Game Boy.
Yeah, so I whip out my Game Boy in history, and I just play. And I remember this one time, I was like, okay, it's another evolution, right? And it's not... After evolving Pokemon for so many times, you're just like, fuck it, it loses its glory. So you're just like, hurry the fuck up. And you know what the common response for any, person is when they want something to hurry up? You just start hitting fucking buttons real fast. The tab doesn't close, you fucking start spamming that shit because it always makes technology run faster. They used to... I've evolved from that. Anyways, that's how I figured out that it would stop the evolution because I spammed the buttons and it didn't evolve. So.
And then you were like, fuck, now I gotta level them up again.
Oh, actually, I was just like really. I was like, holy shit! Middle of history class. I'm like, holy shit! I've had this for 8 years now, and I never fucking knew this. And I was just like,
I honestly, I didn't really get into. So I was into Pokemon, but as like the anime, not really like the games. But that's because like I didn't really have the games. But then like played them I played them in high school. I played some in middle school, but mainly in high school is when I really got into Pokemon.
this guy was a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I started a Pokemon club.
Oh no. That is so much cringe. That is
yeah, dude.
There was an anime club at my school, and I can't imagine it'd be far off from what the demographic of the Pokemon club was.
Well, no, like honestly, it like because we had an anime club too, but like Pokemon club was just me and my friends who like they were already my friends, and we all liked Pokemon, and so it wasn't really like I started a Pokemon club, and then like all the people from the school who liked Pokemon came there, and it was only those people. No, it was like already like my friends who liked Pokemon, and then there were other people who showed up too after like we put up some flyers and stuff.
Don't join the Pokemon club, kids.
Yeah,
you'll be uncool forever. No, but so just you and your friends play. What kind of demographic are we talking about? Like, if I was to look at a horror movie that takes place in a high school, what are you? The emo kids? Are you the nerds? Like, definitely not the jocks.
Social rejects, is that a term?
Okay, so it's practically Perks of Being a Wallflower, but with not Emma Stone. Is it Emma Stone or Emma Watson? There we go.
I'm okay with being not Emma Watson.
Not Emma Watson. Who wouldn't want to be Emma Watson? I mean, she's hot.
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm pretty great. So,
do you think Emma Watson or Emma Stone's better?
I mean, they're not me, so like
okay. Someone's. All right.
Anyways,
back to gaming stuff. Oh yeah, I wanted to hit on. Yeah, you talked about indie games earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, is that like your saving grace to like, kind of the over monopolized gaming industry right now, or
the indie
or are
game
you playing
scene,
more like EA games, Ubisoft games, like those already established?
So, I have made it a point to. Like, anytime that, like, I'm not playing with, like, friends or something, because, like, usually when I'm playing with friends, the problem usually comes down to what game do we all have in common, you know?
The one that's free, because we're all broke.
Yeah, and so, honestly, and that's one of the benefits that these games, like, these free-to-play games that have, microtransactions give, and that's why I think, like, I still think that these types of games, like the free to play with, like battle passes or whatever way they want to monetize their game, they can still exist. We just shouldn't look at them as the cream of the crop. Like, sure, they're great ways to have fun with friends, but in reality, like, these games are equivalent to fast food.
It's cheap. Probably not the best for you.
Yeah, like psychologically too. Like, whereas you have these other games from like indie game developers, they create games as experiences. They know what they want to give their audience, and they have a specific goal in mind, and they don't try to like alter that based on feedback, or they don't try to basically create this product that will return the most amount of investment based on how many changes they make to it. Because I mean, that's what updates are. They're just ways to prolong how much money you can make off of a video game. And that's why, like, I think microtransactions are fine in like free to play games. They're still not the greatest,
Especially depending on the kind. I mean, battle passes versus loot boxes, obviously you're gonna take one over the other.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think battle passes.
Definitely loot boxes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling lucky.
I just think that as a consumer, you should think about, should I spend this time that I'm not playing with my friends, this once one time, where I want to play a video game and I'm just playing by myself.
You're playing with yourself. Gotcha.
Exactly. Turn down the lights, light a few candles,
And just play with yourself.
Exactly. So when you're thinking about like what to play, think about, do you want to tell this game, this AAA game that is not only like charging you to buy the game, but also charging you for microtransactions, and even if it has a battle pass, even if it's a free game with a battle pass, any type of game that has like complex revenue streams, it should probably be avoided, because chances are that they're just trying to get money out of you. And these are not stuff that you should be supporting if you don't like these things. If you don't want these things to be the norm, then you shouldn't, invest into them. And a lot of people like these platforms because, they have a one unified community, and I think there's some benefit to that. But I also think that there's another community that's being kind of forgotten, and that is grassroots communities. Grassroots communities that are controlled by the community and not by the developers. And I think that this is what we should probably go back to. I would prefer to see us go back to grassroots rather than.
So would that be wouldn't that be like taking criticism from your community and actually developing your game, or are you talking about it in a different way? Like,
so
what do you mean by
what I would like to see is game developers, create your game, right? Release it out into the world and let people have it. You can put as much stuff as you want into it until it's finished, and then when you finally release it, that is all you do. You maybe, if you want, release an update, like a couple updates, if you want to add like a little bit, just as a sprinkle on top, just some polish, I'm fine with that. But if it's months after the release of your game, years after the release of your game, why are you still continuously trying to squeeze every single drop of money out of this game by continuously changing it?
Make a new game at that point?
Like, yeah, I mean, why can't you just let your consumers have what they want? And people will say that the argument is like, well, these game developers, they need the money.
Well, they are giving their consumers what they want. They're updating it to how they want it.
Well, yeah, but that's what the vocal minority wants. The streamers and the content creators want that, because without that, influx of content from this game, they have nothing to talk about.
Well, they could talk about the new game coming out. Maybe just take the alternative route. But I guess that's a lot.
Think about it this way. Think about Melee, right? Even though Melee is a really old game, so Melee is quite like hard to judge right now. But I mean, it has had a lot of content created for that game, but now not a lot of people do, because I mean it's not that popular as it once was, and a lot of the content that would have been created has already kind of been created. You don't need to create another wave dashing tutorial video. There's already so many out there.
So what? Just develop the content and move on to the next game?
Well, see, it's hard because, it's you're saying that like these players who play this game, they shouldn't be able to play the game as long as they want, and we like this game, so we want to stay attached to it, and that's good, and I think that you should stay attached to the game for as long as you want to stay attached to the game, but you shouldn't be thinking that people going off to different games is a bad thing. what that is that you're just enjoying this game a little bit longer than everyone else is. And that's just what's going to happen. You're either going to enjoy a game and this is going to happen with every game regardless of, what you're playing. Even if Fortnite continuously updates their game, you're going to get bored of it.
Yeah, I guess same graphics, same. The core mechanics are still the same. Eventually, you'll.
What they're doing, they're not preserving the game. They're just extending the game.
They're prolonging the slow, inevitable death.
Yeah, because every game dies. Every game will die, and yes, sure, so maybe they'll have some influx of players still. Games like TF2. They showed TF2 doesn't have really short patch cycles, and it's honestly something that I used to not like about TF2, but now that I've actually thought about it, I actually think it's a good thing that they just let their game be what it was. I would
they don't patch it a lot, or they do patch?
They don't patch it a lot. Yeah, it's been
They haven't added any new hats or anything?
No.
I always thought the TF2 thing hats was so stupid.
There's a lot of content in TF2, and I would like to see a Team Fortress 3. That'd be cool. But my main thing about this is that I don't want to see pieces of artwork get destroyed, Because that's what they're doing. They're just taking these multiplayer games and refining them and changing them and doing all this stuff to it. And when you think about it, multiplayer games of the past have never had to do that. They've just made the game better.
That is
true. They just made the game better and then released it again.
Honestly, yeah, the update thing is also if you've ever actually looked at a graph of what the player base looks like in these updates, you can tell the strong, consistent player base that's going to be there. There's always a line that stays steady, and then the update hits, everybody comes back, and then not even a month later drops right back down to that consistent audience. It's I think that consistent audience would probably just stay around regardless of the updates, because obviously they're just staying through thick and thin.
Well, yeah, and then you have time to actually learn the game. And with games right now that are being constantly updated, don't you think it's kind of weird that all of them are super simple too? Or becoming more simple, taking a lot of the complex niche mechanics out of them?
Oh, yeah.
It's because when you have a game that's constantly updating and constantly changing, when you have all of these niche mechanics that takes a long time to learn, you don't want to have that on top of the fact that your game's always changing, because then it's way too, you have to be on top of literally everything. I mean, even MOBAs have this problem a lot, and they don't even update that often. But just because there's so much information in their game, when they do update, it's just really hard to keep up with the game. And
I can tell you from personal experience, I don't like when my MOBAs change. Smite, a game I used to play a lot, and I'll admit I fell off of it for a bit. We all do. Maybe I wanted some more FPS, but when I went back, I didn't recognize any of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I look at Smite right now, and it looks so much like just a mobile game trying to sell you stuff.
It really does, and it's just they did dumb down a lot of things, but it's still over my head because I didn't even bother to actually research it or anything. It's once something has changed so much, and it's hard too because you invested a lot in that game before, and then it just you come back after all these updates and it's just completely different. It's just do I really want to invest my time again just to repeat the cycle of I'm probably going to go away for a bit and then come back not know anything? It's a real bitch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you don't know if when you learn all this stuff if it's going to stay, and you don't know if what you learn is even going to be something you like. That's the problem with constant updates, is that yeah, sure, they can add some stuff that you like, but a lot of time they add stuff that you don't. And
Yeah, they can create a lot more problems too.
And it's also a problem with how you buy a game, right? Because let's say, for example, you buy a game, and then you have a idea of what this game is supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now when you take it home and you play it, you get that experience. So now you have a complete understanding of what the game experience is. Now let's say that game gets updated, like 3 months from now, a year from now, gets a couple updates, completely changes, right?
That first experience is no longer what you're playing anymore.
That's not the experience you bought.
Yeah. I can attest to. I forgot if this game was free or not. It's been a while, but there was this game called Firefall, and let me tell you, it wasn't much of a PvP game. I think there were some PvP elements in it, but it was more like a looter shooter. You're in space, shoot some aliens, mine some shit. It was fun. There's a crafting element to it. It was a little complicated too in some ways, but I liked it. It's like not that kind of complicated where like there's a high skill ceiling or anything like that. It's complicated like how like overcomplicated space games are, like Space Sims.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of information you got to know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, throughout updates, they literally totally fucked the game. They dumbed it down. They like switched out for like multiple crafting elements for like one overall crafting element that so you're only focusing on this one thing, so it lost a little bit of the fun grindiness that, and grind can be fun. So
it also because it also takes off like understanding and being able to delve into the game.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that if you want your game to develop a community that explores your game and understands it and builds around it, then you want to build a deep game. And that's the problem, is that people don't want to build deep games. They want to build big games.
They want to build big games, and then afterwards add some shiny bells and whistles.
Well, because like big games can have a lot of stuff in it. You just keep putting stuff in it. It's easy. It's easy to put stuff in big games.
GTA is a great example.
It's really hard to put stuff into deep games though.
Yeah.
Because anything that you put in just changes the entire dynamic. Like imagine, I don't know if you ever played Quake. I've been playing Quake Champions recently. It's really, really fun. Their free to play model actually just changed to where duels are now like you can do custom games in the free to play mode. So you can go download Quake right now and just have a duel with any of your friends, and it's really fun. It's probably one of like the most unique experiences you can have in a first person shooter, and the fact that you can go do that for free, I think is really, really good service for Quake. And so they
are you throwing out a promo here, man?
They get
you sound like you're advertising.
They get a little a little thumbs up from me because I like Quake as a first person shooter. I think fundamentally designed, it's really interesting, and I think that duels are really cool. I don't know if you've ever played Quake duels before, but the way that it works is you have a lot of mobility. That's what Quake is known for, right? But the thing is more about map control and your stack. So your stack is how healthy you are. So you have your shield and you have your shield, over shield, and health and over health, or whatever it is.
Did
or
you
mega
just say?
health.
Hold up. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said health. You have your shield. Then you have another one.
So basically,
How much health do you need?
There's the mega health. There's the mega health, and mega shields, and there's one that makes your health a lot and one that makes your shield a lot. So it expands your shield more than your max amount, right? But it decays slowly until you get to your max amount. And then you can go around the map and you can also pick up just regular shields and it'll fill it up to the max amount, but it won't go past that.
Okay, this is already too complicated. You need an update to make it more casual friendly.
But that's the thing. It's like Quake's never gonna change. That's how Quake Duel has always been. The only change that they've made recently to how it works is with Quake Champions, a completely new game where now you have these champions that you can actually just introduce into the game. Where like they have a pick ban, or I don't know if they have bans yet. I know they have a pick system where like you basically pick your character, you pick your character, then the opponent picks their character, and you try to counter pick 3 characters, and it's like 1 life per character, and you just run around in this duel. You try to pick up weapons, pick up more armor, and you slowly chip away at the enemy's stack and try to outplay them based on how healthy you think they are.
How healthy?
Yeah, it's a lot of mind games. And
how much broccoli has he eaten? How healthy is this boy?
Because the thing is that items on the you revolve around 2 main items on the map. It's the one that makes your health a whole lot bigger and the one that makes your shield a whole lot bigger. You can also revolve around some of the weapons, but those aren't too important because you can pretty much still function with any of the weapons. It's just some weapons are like way more important than others. Like the rocket launcher is really good to know where it is, but it very rarely will someone try to like contest the rocket launcher. At least not in like my level of skill. Like maybe the pros do it, but I don't do it. You mainly just want to try to control your bulkiness, and so you try to control these parts. And when you have one, you're of course way tougher than you should be, right? So it kind of makes you overpowered a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Compared to your opponent. Now, if your opponent has one, then they're overpowered, and so you have to kind of play the chip away game if you feel like they're in control, and you have to play this hunt game when you're in control, because you don't want your opponent to get to where you're at if you're above them, and you don't want your opponent to kill you if they're above you. So it's a really, really cool dynamic that Quake has set up. And so I really like the fact that they've implemented the fact that you can duel in their free-to-play model. It's one of those games that, it's never really changed. Mm-hmm. The game mode, the dual game mode specifically, it's changed it's changed a little bit, I think, but generally it's been the same. Where you just have items around the map, you go pick them up, and you try to control, try to defend.
Sounds a little bit like Halo.
Yeah, and Halo has map control too, but their mobility is more centralized around like vehicles and floatiness, while Quake is more momentum based. I really like Quake's movement. It's learning how to strafe jump was like a little bit difficult because I didn't understand it at first. But when I learned how to strafe jump, it feels so nice, and it makes you realize that when games can understand how to make a game feel good to play, that just makes so much more of a difference.
Well, yeah, it's the simple things that can make a real difference, especially movement. Movement in a game is a real big deal, especially, and then like also gun feedback is a big deal.
I think it's not necessarily movement that I like, but I really like momentum-based movement. I think momentum-based movement is because for example, Paladins. Paladins has movement, right? But they don't have momentum-based movement at all. And I feel like that's something that's lacking from their game, which would probably make it really fun, because I think momentum is something that you can really allows for a lot of creativity and skill, because one, you have to keep like the general ideas behind momentum is you want to keep going the same direction, right? To build momentum.
Mm-hmm.
This has an interesting balance factor in the way that mobility is treated. So if you move faster going in one direction, then that means that your mobility options become more predictable the faster you get.
Because you can't change speed as quickly, or
Well, because so like basically you can go really fast if you go in one straight line, but if you try to like maneuver like left and right, you go slower. So it becomes it like yes you can like strafe left and right and do all that stuff, but if you want to go really fast, you're gonna have to go in one straight line, and it allows for people to be really fast but not make it impossible to shoot at them. Because if you see them going really fast, you know where they're going because you know that they have to keep their momentum.
That's why Sonic always ran in a straight line because he was going so fast he couldn't move around. He would have lost his
Sonic's actually a good explanation of how momentum based movement is really good in player feedback. Cause,
I was just trying to make a joke there.
Well, I mean, like, I played a lot of Sonic Adventure 2. I don't know if you ever played that one.
Dude, I didn't play any of.
Really? Okay, so like it was a third person Sonic game, and it let you like raise these little like chow things, and that was like my favorite part of the game because like you just like. It was really really old, and
wait, chow things? What?
Yeah, it was. They're like these little, I don't know, fucking blue onion things, and
they like pet. What the fuck?
Yeah, they're like pets, and you basically gave them vials of radioactive material and animals, and they would rub them on their faces. And they would gain extra strength.
What acid trip of a fucking game are you describing?
I mean, it's what happened. So like, don't.
That's when anything could have made it past fucking game design. That's when all the game designers were high as shit.
And like games. I love that game, and the game was so bad. It was really bad because it had tons of bugs. If you see like speed runs of Sonic Adventure 2, you're just like, how did this game get past QA?
Just fucking people. I love seeing the speed runs where they're just glitching through walls and shit.
Actually, QA is something that another thing that I wanted to talk about because.
What's QA?
So QA is quality assurance, and so the thing about monetization. So for me, I would much prefer if the gold standard for game releases was just a one-time purchase where you just buy the game and that's all you have to do.
And it works. No day one patch.
It works. No, like you don't have to update it. That's all it is. It's just a game, and you can play that game today the same way you're going to play that game in 100 years.
Well, then do you believe in like betas?
So here's the thing.
Well, if used correct, that's the key thing.
And that's exactly what I was what I'm talking about here. I am okay with betas to get quality assurance because quality assurance is a really really expensive thing that some game developers just don't have the budget for. And so if you use it in purposes for quality assurance, then yeah, cool. If you also want to offer maybe a way that the people who like your game to give you some support by like introducing a founders pack or something like that, yeah, that sounds cool. But the second you start putting skins in your early access game, boy, like, get out of here.
Well, early access is a little bit different than betas nowadays. Early access is like you release the game, but it's kind of broken.
It's still in beta.
It's like, oh yeah, it's technically in beta, but like And then there's the long ass betas, early access on
I
Steam.
mean, Paladins was in beta for the longest fucking time.
But there's also like other betas like it's like AAA releases. They'll do like a quote unquote beta like 3 weeks before release. I'm like, that is not a beta. You are fucking trying to hype publicity right now or test. They're doing two things. They're making publicity and they're testing servers if they can support the capacity.
Fucking Fallout 76.
Fallout 76 and what was the other one? I think what was that fucking one that was a complete disappointment by EA? Everybody was hyping it up. Oh wait, that sounds like every EA game ever.
Anthem.
There we go. I'm pretty sure that one had a beta too. But they're like 2 weeks before the fucking.
Yeah. Honestly,
you need like several months to fix shit.
Speaking of Fallout 76, like that game is Bethesda trying to make a platform, not a game, and it just shows,
Oh yeah.
It like that is not a game. You were expecting people to have their own fun in this environment,
It's like one of those games like VR chat. There you go. It's just like release people into this environment, let them have fun instead of like actually bringing the fun. It's like, I hate to admit it because I actually love the game now. No Man's Sky. It was like that.
It's gotten some updates.
Oh yeah, No Man's Sky right now, dude. I love to death.
But that's the thing.
But they also lied.
From updates, and they lied, and
Well, to be fair, they were also under Sony's thumb. Let's be honest. Okay, but he did straight lie. It's a conflicting part of me. Okay, like I know what technically happened, but there's a part of me that's like I don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it happened.
Yeah, I have a friend. He's really into No Man's Sky. He liked the game like when it first came out too.
Oh no, I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah, no. Well, like the thing is that he liked the game for just being a game that gave you places to explore, because that's all he wanted from a game. Was just a game that allowed you to just go explore things,
So it's practically a walking sim at that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like he liked that, and
yeah, fair enough.
And
to each their own.
The thing is that No Man's Sky was sold as as a million things it couldn't have been. And yes, it has improved a lot over the patches. But wouldn't we have rather that entire game just come out on release? Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is like I also fell into that trap of like almost like, how can I put this? The hype machine. When No Man's Sky, they started talking about it.
Yeah.
And it feels like they released details about the game way too early too. Because it's like, they obviously knew they weren't complete. They're close to complete. But they released the information. It's like when a movie gets announced like 2 years prior to when it's going to come out. It's like, there's so much anticipation. And then when it did hit, it didn't meet expectation. I much would have preferred they just not told anybody about the game, kept it in the oven for another year, and then then next the year after that, start telling, oh, we're gonna have this game, and then release it the next, give it that extra buffer time,
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they were under the pressure of Sony to release early.
Publishers can be a bitch.
Yeah, honestly though, like you got to remember that if what they wanted to do was create a fun experience, and they knew their time constraints, like I don't know exactly what happened with like why they had to release so early, but if they had, if they knew that their time was going to be not enough, don't focus on making the game seem flashy. Focus on gameplay. Give people something that they can actually enjoy. Like you just have to resource manage, and it's I hate to be this way, but we need to start, holding companies more responsible for their business decisions.
I'm gonna sell all my EA stock. I don't have any EA stock.
So any other business cannot operate like the way we allow video game companies to operate.
I don't know. I mean, there's companies arguably do some scummy shit and then get away with it, but that's...
Well, what I'm saying is that we don't agree. So, like, what I'm saying, just the general consensus is that, video games can charge what they want because the price of video games have increased. That's the argument, right?
The price to make them has increased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why have they increased, right? Because they're putting too much stuff in it. They're hyper detailing houses. They're making,
I like to see as many hairs on a man's arm as I possibly can.
They're making extensive cities, trying to they're investing millions and millions of dollars into these video games, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool that we're getting million dollar value video games, but one, I think that money is being horribly mishandled because some of these video games that take multi-million dollars end up becoming pretty garbage, especially because a lot of them revolve around these loot boxes. And that's the thing, is you think oh, this is a multi-million dollar experience that's just trying to steal money from me because it's trying to make up for the fact that it's a multi-million dollar experience.
Yeah. And what was that one game that came out that did the exact opposite of what you said? They made something short. It was something Blade or...
Hellblade.
Was it that one? With
yeah,
the chick
yeah. So basically, Hellblade is a game revolving around a girl who she's kind of she's from this tribe, and I think that someone close to her gets lost or something, and she has to go find them. But she also has psychosis, and
psychosis?
Yeah, psychosis. So she sees things. She also hears things, and you experience the entire game as if you were that person.
Oh, okay, so that's what it's about.
Yeah, she's not actually fighting demons. She's probably just fighting actual people, but they look like demons.
Just punching the shit out some trees in the forest.
Yeah, and so... And that's why, everything's, so hyper-realistic, or, they have, a lot of, detailed lighting and stuff, because, that's how people... They did a lot of, studies on what people with psychosis actually went through. Yeah. And it's a really great way to actually experience what it's like to deal with these mental ailments, because they purposely put these things to try to make you feel uncomfortable. Even though you're in third person, the camera is very narrow, so you have a very, very narrow field of view. Which makes you feel confined and cramped. There isn't a lot of control over the movement. You have control, but it's not supposed to be an action-packed game.
Yeah.
It does have action in it, but its main purpose is to make you feel like the person in the game.
Yeah, and as I was saying, what I heard about it is it did exactly what it set out to do. It had its goal. It had its objective. It did what it needed to do without adding all the bells and whistles, and good money spent.
Yeah.
Good story, all enclosed, put a ribbon on it, didn't need constant updates.
And I can take that game and in 100 years play it again.
Same experience.
Experience the same thing. Piece of artwork, piece of history.
Yeah. I like games like those sometimes. Actually, I'd probably say a majority of the time I'd enjoy something more along the lines of that because it's more of a experience. But as for goofing off with my friends, I'd say that there's still a part of me that would want the updates and the...
Yeah, and it's cool to keep a game alive. I like having games as a service, just so that way, because games with friends is always going to be more fun. But I mean, doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to see these games maybe be altered into another type of monetization form. Because think about it this way: like I've paid for the Founders Pack, you've paid for the Founders Pack. Some like a lot of our friends have paid for the Founders Pack for Paladins. It's the game that we play, or Champions Pack, depending on when you bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Since we've all pretty much spent money on the game,
why not just have that initial cost and just give all the champions?
Well, like, why not just have that initial cost and just have like full complete game? Like, if Paladins was a full complete game, and like I could just guarantee that, and it had a lot of depth. It had a lot of like you can invest tons of time into it, and like you would never even come close to perfecting yourself at that game. That's what Quake is. Quake is a game that has so much depth that you can never really perfect the game. Like, there are people who are incredibly good at the game, but even them, like, they all play based off of reads. It's not even like the mechanics that they're really great at. Like, the best player in the world says that he's not a mechanical player. He just plays because he just is the best because he knows how to read people, and he knows how to outsmart them and control better, and that's how he wins.
And speaking of that depth, it's like, what I noticed, it's what added a lot of depth to games too, especially like how you talked about from Quake to Quake Champions, the idea of hero shooters. Like, because instead of just having one, like, in going back to CS:GO, CS:GO, you play, I mean, I guess you say terrorist and CT, but that's all you got. Everybody's got the same role. Shoot things. But like with hero shooters, it's changed the game a bit, because now you can have even more depth, because you have different classes of characters that play differently, and like, just because you know how to play one character doesn't mean you know how to play them all. And I feel like that was a really good concept when it first came out, and now it's just been kind of shaven down.
I feel like instead of expanding on what character classes, instead of expanding on that, we kind of just detracted from it. Yeah. If you look at some of the original games that did characters, you look at TF2, the characters have a lot of unique mechanics and a very, very large skill ceiling. Every single character. When the sniper is considered to be one of the more basic characters.
That's not an often thing.
Yeah. And that's just because, like, all the characters have very, very unique mechanics on how they're supposed to play in the game. The medic, he has no mobility whatsoever, but yet there are mobility mechanics for the, like, things that players have come up with to basically exploit the game.
Wait, did you say the medic or mechanic?
Medic.
The medic?
So what they did was they figured out that if the enemy has a soldier, and you see that soldier shooting a rocket, you can use the explosive knockback from the rocket
to get away from them
and ride it. Yeah, and so that's what
rocket jumping is. Yeah.
Well, it's basically like stealing the enemy's rocket jump because they shot a rocket.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very hard technique to pull off, but you can do it. And it's very difficult, but like it exists, but the game doesn't get, like, the game has existed for a long time, and its engine allows for a lot of like complex outplays, and that's what I think more games should return to.
And it's also cool because, especially since you have those complicated things, and then also they pertain to certain classes of character, and it's a very interesting thing. But then, like, TF2 being a good example, hero shooters now, I mean, like Overwatch, they have it's weird. They're trying to provide variety while still trying to make it like that CS:GO experience, to where if you can play one character, you can play them all, which is so stupid. It's like, all right, we're going to give you a healer, a basic healer like Mercy, And they found out she has this amazing, mobility thing where she can slingshot off of people. And then they take it out because it didn't align with what they imagined. And it takes away from the uniqueness of a character. And then you're just putting her in line with all the other healers. And it's just like, what's the point at that point of having different characters, having a hero-based shooter, if you're just going to dumb them all down to a casual level?
Well...
You feel what I'm putting down?
And the thing is that, part of me wants to preserve, artistic integrity of the original design. But then the other side of me is a very analytical person who can, look at character design and see see how the game was structured around this character and realize that the game devs were not really thinking about the clear linkage between what the character did and what the person felt experiencing that character. One thing that I think TF2 did extraordinarily well is not only creating good characters but also creating good classes. So you have the roles, right? You have the specific roles where you have attack, defense, and support.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure there's 9 characters in TF2.
Dude, it's been... I think I played all of, I launched TF2 maybe 4 times in my life.
Let's see. There's Heavy, Scout, Demoman, Soldier...
76, got you.
So let's do attack, which is Scout, Scout, Soldier, and somebody else. And then defense is Demoman, Engineer, and somebody else. And support is Spy and Medic. And the thing is that you look at Spy and you see him in the support class and you wonder, well, why is Spy support? Right? Well, that's because the term support means that you are supporting your team complete the goal. You're not doing a lot of actions. So, for example, when you look at your attack and defense characters, those are the ones that are going to be doing a lot of damage and getting a lot of offensive kill, or attack does offensive kills, defense does defensive kills.
And they're focusing on the objective too.
Yeah. And then you have the spy who is a support. So he's not there to just try to kill anything. He's there to kill specific targets. Because if you wanted to kill anything, then you could literally just, go with the soldier. But if you wanted to get a specific medic pick, then yeah, sure, you could probably go with a spy. And so that's where spy belongs in the support class. And the thing is, spy, I don't even think he's that good of a class. Balance wise, I don't think he is. But it doesn't mean that the game TF2 would be any worse if spy was never valid in the meta. I mean, if what the meta is what people like to play, then let them play what they want to play. If I want to play a game where spy is good, then I'll probably just have to wait until they release a game where they've designed around the design of spy and given him more options or something like that.
Or they can do what every other shooter does and just update him.
Well, yeah, they
put him in line.
One, they buffed him and nerfed him, and they've done a lot of stuff with spy. But right now, he's not in a bad spot. I mean, he's not in a good spot. He's in a all right spot, I guess. But I mean, he's not seen it all in competitive, pretty much. I mean, you can see him, but he's just not that good, just because of how risky you have to play him. Because stealth is a really, really easy mechanic to outplay. So the person playing spy has to be that much better than their opponent in order to use spy effectively.
Opponent.
And honestly, there's a lot of tactics when it comes to spy too. You can, when people have just, learned a lot of what spy can do, they then come up with counterplays to it, And that's how the game remains really in depth, where there aren't a lot of hard counters in TF2. It's all about, like my character can do this, your character can do that, and we're going to have this interaction, and, I have these options and you have these options. If I do this, you're going to do this, and it's not necessarily who's the better character or who wins that matchup. It's more so who uses their options in the best way.
Do you think hard counters make a game more casual?
I think hard counters make a game objectively worse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the only way you can validate hard counters is if you have a free flowing change, like character change ability, like Pokemon. Pokemon hard counters completely fine.
Oh yeah, because you can always
because every single turn you can always change your character. I honestly thought that would be a really, really cool idea for a hero shooter.
Can't you change characters in Overwatch?
Well, yeah, but you have to change when you die.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily because you don't know what the enemy team has until you go fight them. So it's not like you can really.
Well, you can adjust after you see it.
Well, then you just play that's not how it works in Paladins.
Yeah,
not Paladins in Pokemon. In Pokemon, basically you throw out your first. You see their Pokemon, they see your Pokemon, right? You know their potential options, and they know your potential options. You send out your first Pokemon, and let's say they counter you, right? You see that, so you can change to the thing that counters them without losing any ground.
Well, technically, they're still going to get a hit off first.
You're going to get a hit, but then now you're in an advantage.
Yeah, you're still alive.
Well,
yeah.
now you're in an advantage.
You have
advantage is
and alive.
Advantage is way more important than taking damage. This is because when you're in an advantage, you can take an entire life, because some Pokemon, for example, if you take Psychic and you use a Psychic attack, it's immune to Dark types are immune to that. So memories. Yeah, that's why it works in, and that's what Overwatch doesn't understand about hard counters, designing hard counters, is that in order to make them not feel terrible to play against, you want to allow your player the ability to not only get an advantage. Sure, maybe they take a little penalty, but at least they don't lose. They don't lose a substantial amount of resource or something.
Do you think Paladin sets hard counters? In your opinion,
it used to.
Now it doesn't feel like it, because honestly,
there's very few, but you don't. They're not necessarily.
I'd identify them as almost soft counters if you want to use it.
More so annoyances. I don't know a single character that is impossible to or gives a straight up advantage.
Well, I mean, classes of characters. I mean, obviously, if you're
if
you're a Mave going up against a Kinessa, I mean, if you close the gap, you're at a little bit more of advantage. But she can also teleport, so it's
well, yeah. I mean, definitely your class against another class is gonna determine in what situations you're gonna be favorable in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you counter them. That means that you and your team were able to get into a situation where you can now apply the correct amount of pressure and basically win that way. Not necessarily that my character counts your character, because I can guarantee you that you will find some Kinessas that can just absolutely body you.
Oh yeah, I know, because fucking every Kinessa bodies me. Fucking I play flanks. I get 2-shot.
And that's what I'm saying is like you don't just because you have a specific character doesn't mean it counters something. And like you could say soft counter, but
Situational
honestly,
advantage.
yeah, it's just situational advantage. There's only like a couple matchups that I would say are pretty hard to play. One would be BK versus Drogos. So when Drogos is playing Wormjets, it's really hard to hit him with BK. Unless you're like running Royal Subjects makes it easier, but definitely it's hard to hit a flying Drogos with BK bombs because
remember, not everybody knows what a BK is. There's half any person listening to this that didn't play Paladins thinks you're referencing Burger King right now. I bet you.
All right, so one of the worst matchup, one of the particularly nuanced matchups in Paladins is Bomb King versus Drogos.
Bomb King versus anything mobile.
Well, mainly just Drogos because he can stay up in the air for a long amount of time.
He's omnidirectional.
Well, more so, yes, omnidirectional, but there's no cooldown to it. So he's like always just constantly moving, And so you can't really predict where he's gonna go a lot. And so throwing bombs up to him is really hard.
Because first off, they're projectile based. Second off, you have to detonate them manually.
Yeah. And
so it's a 2-step process for something flying through the air. You first have to get it in their direction and then set it off at the right distance. That is pretty hard. Especially when you're looking at a 2D surface.
Exactly. And so that's one of the matchups that is particularly hard. But
like an actual hard counter.
I mean, but it's not impossible though. Like you can, if you get into a situation where you're close enough to the Drogos, you can kill him really quickly because Drogos has a low amount of base HP. Yeah, you can increase that, but the more you increase Drogos' HP, the more opportunity cost you have to get out of his mobility, because that's how Paladins works, is it everything's opportunity cost. If you want more HP, you have to sacrifice mobility or damage or cooldown resets.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd argue that also Eevee would be a real hard one for Bomb King.
Eevee's actually way harder for Drogos to handle.
For Drogos?
Yeah, because all of his burst relies on setups, and Eevee's always teleporting around.
Yeah, well, I'm saying the same thing with Bomb King. I mean,
but Bomb King can. The thing with Bomb King is if he gets close to you, he can fuck anybody up. That's what makes Bomb King like so incredibly strong, is the amount of DPS he can just output, because he just puts 2 bombs on you, and that's 1,800 damage. That's 1,800 damage without he has a talent that allows him to like even increase that. So,
what would you say? Just perspective, 1,800 damage. What would you say? Like the average health for a non-tank character was like 25.
2,000.
2,000. 2,000 to like 22,000, right?
Well, I mean, like without 2,000 without any health cards. Yeah, I mean that's like damage. That's like damage and supports. And like some flanks are like less than that, but yeah. So he does like a majority of your health in 2 shots, and so as long as like that's why you can deal with a lot of flanks and stuff. It's because he can just do their entire health and damage and just a really quick ding ding But he's hard to play because you have to be really close up to them. He doesn't have tons of mobility. But he has a lot of like crowd control and stuff like that.
And then especially what I like about that, it's not only just like a class thing. Like, well, it kind of is a class thing. He has damage, right?
Yeah,
it is kind of a class thing, but it's a little bit more of his own thing because he does a lot of damage at the fallback of, not being able to hit that damage consistently sometimes.
Yeah, well,
and it's like that's kind of like his own kind of thing. Instead of just being like an overarching class thing, it's a little bit more particular to him, and like also I guess you could say Shelyn and like Kinessa, because they shoot a little bit slower.
Well, so So the way that I would compare Bomb King a lot to Dredge, because like Dredge has a really like slow, like I think Dredge has the coolest designed weapon, like one of the coolest designed weapons.
I can't stand that thing.
Besides the right click, I like the main fire. So like basically the main fire of Dredge's weapon is the ability to shoot out a grenade launcher, right?
It's practically a noob tube.
Yeah, practically a noob tube, but it's very slow. It's got a very slow projectile speed.
A lot of arc.
A lot of arc, and there's a lot of fast moving targets. So you have to really know your trajectories and stuff to really be able to be accurate with this weapon.
Or common choke points work too.
Or just common choke points. Just being able to understand where the enemy is going to be, and I think that's a really interesting design for his weapon, especially because his reload actually sends out another one of these that does extra damage, but is smaller and is slower but it's bigger in projectile speed or projectile size. So it's a bigger projectile size, but it's slower in terms of being able to hit something. So, but it does 1,000 damage.
So size does matter is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
All right, guys. I think we should be wrapping this one up. Subscribe. Yeah. We're going to have some more short format videos with also our podcast going up. And thank you for joining us on this.
Follow Thoughtless on Twitter.
Do not follow Thoughtless on Twitter.
And we'll see you guys